Cool guys. Hi Cameron, hi Nathan, hi Rao. I think we're missing Bob, but I think we can start and he'll join. So welcome everybody to the second SCOMathon 2024 panel discussion for the day. I'm pleased to moderate the discussion today, which will revolve around the future of SCOM, its evolution, AI adoption, and game-changing innovations. I'm very pleased to share the stage with so many renowned experts like Cameron, Nathan, Rao, and of course Bob. I think they do not need to be presented. Nathan, Cameron, and also Rao at their sessions earlier this day, and also of course everybody also knows SCOMBOB. So guys, let's start. I would like to start with one question, and then I think the discussion will go off from there. So, do you believe that SCOM will continue to evolve, or it will somehow remain stagnant in its current state? Or it will be interesting to me to hear your consideration about the evolution of SCOM and how it will change over the years. Nathan, what's your opinion?
Sure. I'll speak. I was just letting somebody else speak. Obviously, SCOM in its current stage is not evolving much, right? Microsoft definitely seems to have a lot of other focuses to that. I mean, you see a few features. We were talking about this actually in my panel Q&A. We eventually got there, right? So SCOM as itself, I don't know. I mean, they're obviously investing in it because customers use it, right? And we've talked about it before. It does provide some features that are some things that Azure Monitor doesn't. Where AI, I think, comes into play is maybe AI, when it gets good enough, can it write management packs, right? Can it do some of those hard things? That's kind of where I'd like to see it. If it can actually start putting some intelligence behind your monitoring where the user base can't. Right now, I don't think AI is there. That's me personally. I'm probably more of an AI detractor, though, than most people. So I'll turn the floor to somebody else. So
Cameron had a session earlier this day on AI and SCOM, and he also had a session a couple of years ago. It was, I think, the keynote session around which revolved around the future of SCOM. So I'm very interested to hear his opinion on the topic.
I think Microsoft is at a position that they could make a significant evolution in SCOM and in monitoring holistically. I think that AI is going to bring that to the forefront. And the real question is going to be with Microsoft's various different investments, where AI in a monitoring platform is going to reside. I mean, I think Nathan is correct that most of the attention is focused towards their cloud solutions, but the heading into direction towards AI across everything brings a unique opportunity that the product team that exists for System Center might be able to step back and integrate new capabilities that wouldn't have been able to have gotten approved in the past. So I'll put myself at cautiously optimistic. It really depends on where Microsoft wants to put the investment, but I will say this and to recap from what I said from 2 years ago. I do believe that an approach like Sentinel, something of that nature, focused specifically on monitoring, would be a game changer in this industry, regardless of whether that's built on top of SCOM or whether that's built on top of Azure Monitor or something completely different. I think we're just waiting for somebody to step up and do it.
All right. Thanks, Cameron. And Rao, what's your opinion on the topic?
Basically, they tried evolving using the Azure Monitor, bringing the Ops Manager logics and all those into one category, but they failed in that case. I don't think they are moving much into customizing or improving the APM or creating AI ops. There are several solutions where we are like one tool is not enough right now. They have not added the Kubernetes monitoring or the application monitoring in there. So these type of things they have to invest, and then only we can rely only on SCOM. If you talk about 10 years back, we can rely on SCOM with the technologies, but now the technology has changed drastically. So So if you look at any of the APM tool or any other tool like ServiceNow item, they score points over SCOM, and organizations are looking into invest more and more in there. SCOM just remain for the infrastructure application tool at this moment.
Right. Thank you, Rao. And Pop, what's your point on the topic?
Well, whether the investment is going there is always the question, right? Because everything is now going Copilot and AI. However, that is all in the 50,000 products which are somehow connected to the cloud, right? In one way or another, or hybrid, right? So with SCOMMI, I can imagine that they will do it because they are connecting to Azure Monitor, which makes it cloud again, and then makes it possible to dig through data, right? So that is also what Cameron was talking about. So as long as you have it in there somewhere, then you can dig through it and use it. And I think that would be a great place. The question is whether they are going to do the same thing with AI on the purely on-prem stuff, right? So hybrid, likely there are possibilities there, and I think there are great possibilities. Think about, for example, using the hybrid state for Arc connected to VMM to deploy, or to have it connected to Azure Stack HCI, and then deploy based on statistics, right? So based on monitoring statistics, for example, that is what I can see. Whether it's coming to the local SCOM, I don't know.
Right. And I'll ask you guys one more question, and then I think I'll ask our audience if there are any questions there. So if you had the opportunity to implement one really dramatic change to SCOM to drive its evolution and also the adoption of AI in SCOM, what would it be and why would you do it? Raul, maybe if we start with you.
Sure. I would like
One
to
dramatic
improve the
change.
APM,
Sorry.
APM, because right now the application is very much important to know the insights and all those things. Most of the organizations are looking into the APM solutions. And second thing is to add ML, machine language, or create something which can use with the AI ops in there, so that things can be mapped with the CMDB to get the full stack monitoring instead of just the.
Right, right. Nathan, what's your opinion? Maybe something around security?
Actually, no. So surprisingly, no. I mean, you can never. To me, it never hurts. I mean, using SCOM as an edge device obviously has its benefits as long as they don't have one for Sentinel, right? But no, I actually put it in the chat. Application behavior analytics. So it kind of piggybacking. It jogged my memory when Cameron mentioned building something for like Sentinel for SCOM, right? No one's gotten around to doing it, but Sentinel has a feature called user and entity behavioral analytics. And the idea behind it is you look at what a user and an entity does, and you start looking at a change in behavior, and you start building that profile, and then you start alerting based off the change in behavior. How many times have you had an application go crazy and you didn't get an alert for it because none of the monitors or rules that you had written for it really captured what the patient was doing, right? There's just an example of something we've all seen as monitoring people from time to time where the application broke, right? And maybe you got some weird alerts or something like that, but nothing that was really responded to. But now with the idea of machine learning and AI and that kind of stuff, and the ability to aggregate all of this log and look at the application itself and how it behaves, maybe perhaps we can start looking at building a behavior profile of a specific application and start generating alerts when the application is no longer behaving along the lines of the norm. And to me, that would be a bit of a game changer where you're not necessarily writing a specific management pack that's looking for rule A, rule B, rule C, generate an alert, where it's going like, hey, this application is just no longer behaving the way it's been behaving for the last year, right? That makes sense. I think that would be a bit of a game changer, and I think AI could do that, or machine learning, I should say, could do that in conjunction with SCOM and other sources.
Cameron, would you like to add something? Your point of view?
Yeah, what I would like to see, and this could even be something that the community addressed, is giving us a direct connection in SCOM to be able to author rules or monitors that integrate with large language models. So pick as an example, the forecasting example that I gave, if we had the ability to create that, even if somebody, like I said, outside of the product team could build that, that could be a huge game changer in terms of our ability to deliver new capabilities in SCOM without a massive coding investment change.
Right. Thanks, Cameron. And last but not least, Bob.
Well, I'm guessing most of it has been covered. So, looking at applications, right? So SCOM has always been looking at infrastructure first, then the application, but it's still the, let's say, the IT admin, the Windows admin way of looking at it, like services, etc. We had, of course, the APM, but, it's kind of been left alone and in favor of the cloud-based APM version of it, right? So, but that would actually give us much more insights into the application itself, like Rahul was saying, and what Nathan was also talking about. And I think that, well, security was, I think, one of those things which already has been moved on from SCOM towards Sentinel and other solutions, which I think are much better at it, given that it has the machine learning and AI behind it. In this case, it's more machine learning, but AI is becoming bigger and bigger on that side as well, right? So to actually dig through data, and what we sometimes get asked is if we can correlate more data. So we have our distributed apps in SCOM, but even going further than that, and also correlating it with data from other systems. Well, for that, you need to build some kind of another database and a model. And that is what some big companies are doing privately in their own systems. But it takes a hell of a lot of time and effort, and is still going to be very difficult. Cameron has talked about that before as well, with the memory forecasting thing. It's something seemingly so unbelievably simple, but it takes a lot of time. But if we can throw some AI into that, I think that will help a lot as well in here. But this will be machine learning and AI combination. Yep.
Cool. I think in the chat I saw the comment of Brett about improved visualization. Do you agree with him? In my personal opinion, the dashboarding, especially in the FAT console, are a bit outdated. So this is an area which could, let's say, benefit from some improvements. Also, in my personal list, there are also other small topics.
Great.
Raw visualizations and SCOM. If we put aside Squared Up, which is of course a great solution, very modern, very fancy looking, but the native SCOM visualization dashboarding, what do you think of it? Raul?
Some of our teams are still using 2007 old style views because it is very lightweight as compared to current dashboards, and we get the overview as well, like 4 views, which is not available in the current in 1809 or 2019 or 2022. So we are still using that old hack in there.
Right. Let's not forget that there is still a website where users can, let's say, provide feedback around SCOM. It's not the so-called SCOM user voice anymore. It's a new site, which is, I think, under, let's say, Azure feedback or something like this. If you try harder Googling it, I think you might come across it. But to be honest, if I'm not mistaken, Bob, you can correct me, the product group is watching for the comments out there. So
Like
they're actively following it.
Yeah, they're watching it like a hawk. So they're actually really looking at it, and they are doing their best to implement or to look at how to do it. But also it's a way of prioritizing things which are on their list anyway. So their list is likely going to be much bigger than they can ever finish. but this is a way of prioritizing, right? So if you put in your feedback, it's like adding a vote to something, and it might come earlier that way. So really look at the feedback. They are actively watching it.
All right, cool. Thanks, Bob. I just I just now see that there are no attendees which are in the session area where you might or you're able to ask questions. So please, everybody, if you want to ask your questions, go to navigate your avatar to the white chairs which are on the both sides of the stage, so that you are able to ask your question. And I see the first one, Michael.
Yeah, I suppose this is fairly left field, and I suppose we're all doing it. Is I'm no guru programmer, and so I'm leaning quite heavily on ChatGPT to smack out lots of PowerShell, and it interests me about what it can and can't do when trying to use SCOM commandlets. Sometimes it has some, sometimes it doesn't. Has anyone done anything about like building up their own prerequisite queries that already have stuff like, for example, fragments? So like giving fragments to the AI, so it already has a list of very common fragments, the concept fragments like in Silex product. So it understands what management packs look like to help in automatically designing and releasing management packs.
I'll take that if nobody else wants it.
I can go first, Kevin. Basically, if we can add Visual Studio authoring extension into ChatGPT, these type of issues can be resolved very quickly. I believe they are not investing much more time into automating or like improving that as well.
Right.
Like earlier, they have Channel 9 series and everything, but after that, there is none.
That's a far better answer than I would have been able to give, but let me throw mine out for second perspective. So not knowing what he was saying there in advance, I would have gone with, you can also pre-pend what questions you've got with sample into your actual question that you're passing to ChatGPT, so or Copilot. So you can actually give it a sample code and say, hey, here's an example of a management pack fragment that does this. And then once you've given that background, you can tell it what you're looking for. It's still not probably going to be 100%, and you may get better out of the approach that he mentioned, but it's if you want someplace to start from, that's at least how I would start with it.
Has anybody of you guys tried this approach? Or really tried it?
I have tried it with Kusto. So I do significant amounts of this with Kusto Query right now and with PowerShell, but I have not done that specifically with XML fragments at this point. I'd love to hear if others have, though.
Yeah, I've given it a go, and I was almost thinking of like, can you make some sort of magnum opus of many fragments together that you could just almost create, as you said before, Cameron, like a custom buddy that has an enormous amount of quality predefined XML code in it, ready to go. So it is more on the rails when it gives SCOM code answers.
It's great, and a second part I should have mentioned that dovetails directly into this is there's also the possibility of having a model that's specifically designed for this purpose. So as an example, Bob and I talked about this briefly just a little bit ago, and because of copyright restrictions, it probably wouldn't be viable. But imagine for a minute if you were to create a large language model small large language model that was based upon the most important blogs that are out there related to SCOM, combined with all of the books that have been related to SCOM, and all of that together, put in some sample code and the rest of it. You turn that all into a blender together and create, a version of a SCOM avatar, basically, that could help you with those types of dedicated tasks. From what I understand, conceptually, from a technical perspective, there's no reason that couldn't be done. The only challenge would be sources of data that you would be allowed to use that would be allowed, without legal problems. And somebody just, your Matrix folks just put a great link out there for creating a custom GPT. It's exactly it. So I think there's a great opportunity out there to create a SCOM subject matter expert.
That would be really so cool, and it would not only touch the development of management packs, but like you already mentioned, Cameron, also most probably management part of SCOM, because actually from my experience, that the management part could be easily covered, but not everyone is really fancy is learning, let's say, management pack development, and you need to get to know Visual Studio and all the logic and all the stuff, which from my experience is not that very common. So if we someday get to the point where a Gen AI can write our management packs, of course, this will be a major step towards a better monitoring solution. I see Blake is also in the staging area. Blake, do you have a question for us?
No, I just wanted to add my input on what was being talked about. So I believe that, with especially with the GPT 4.0 that just came out, it's so much faster and can recognize so much more now that, 4 couldn't, or not couldn't, but it would do slower, right? It's just, it opens the field to, like, you've seen the videos, everybody's seen the videos, right, of the conversation that 4.0 has with somebody on a video chat, and it can recognize things in the room and things on your screen. I mean, I've seen the new Copilot video that just came out, and it can tell you how to play Minecraft and how to, you tell it what you want it to do, and it'll tell you what you need to craft an item. I mean, the usability of everything is going up. Like it's so vast of what it's able to do that I think personally that if we were to feed a custom GPT model that you can make in Azure, because that's possible, put a bunch of management pack references, things that you can, I mean, to be fair with everybody, you can export Microsoft management packs right now in your own environment by just exporting them out. It'll unseal them. You get all the code. You put all that into a large language model and let it, think about what it does and the way that this code's already written, and let it write based on best practices and all of those. I think that it's possible for there's an endless limit to what it's able to do. So I mean, I'm looking forward to the future of it. And personally, this is not a company. I'm not speaking for the company, but personally, what I think is I think that AI is going to come to the product eventually. Not so near sight, but there's a lot of things that they have to work around. But I personally think that it's going to come here, and that's a reason to be excited. The possibilities for that are endless, and all the data points that we can already gather from like SQL queries and things like that. If you were to put that into an AI model and tell it, let me know if there's any irregularly, like things that are irregular happening. Like it's just, I don't know. I just wanted to voice my input on this, and I figure I feel I'm very passionate about AI and the future of it, and hopefully there's no Skynet. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, yeah, thank you.
So, thank you, Blake, for sharing your point of view. We talked a lot about how AI could optimize and make SCOM better. But what about the challenges? What could be the challenges from integrating AI into SCOM for organizations of any type and size?
Well, there would be potentially security issues that you would have. That's number one, and that's always on top of everybody's mind. Who's got my data and who's looking at it, right? I would say that, these things are evolving every day. There's safety boards for this, for all of the things around AI. I would say personally that we just need to, as things evolve, we're at ChatGPT 4 right now, but whenever 5 comes out, things are going to be so much more evolved at that point, and there's going to be so many safety regulations. It's I gotta watch what I say, right? I can't say too much, but I would say that there's so much that I'm looking forward to, things that I've been told, things that I've learned. It's the sky's the limit. There's going to be issues along the way. There's issues with any new thing that comes along, but eventually these issues are going to get worked out. They're going to get ironed out. The security is going to be good enough, and things are going to be in house potentially. I don't know. These different companies, they're all going to be. There's always different
Right.
points
Right.
that they have to.
Right. Bob, anything to add?
Well, the security and privacy are obviously always the challenges. And I think what it also requires is, forgive the word, a shitload of compute power, where only a few companies in the world are big enough to provide it, and Microsoft is one of them. So, as long as somebody is willing to invest in it and then have the compute power behind it, there's so much you can do, like Blake says. The only challenge is, getting it to the forefront enough to be able to use that data, because they will first do security data, cloud data, other data, and then you get to this point, right? So it's always trying to get to the forefront enough that they think it's important enough to spend time and processing power on, basically, in whatever way, human or machine or Skynet.
Exactly.
Whichever one it
Cameron,
is.
Nathan, do you want to share your perspective?
Challenges to me, I'll be the contrarian here. I always worry about the users. This is kind of like the invention of the internet when you had encyclopedias, right? And the invention of the calculator, prior to that, and doing math, right? So what are you giving up when you start using this versus there's always a trade-off for it, right? AI can only do so much, and so you can also trust it too much. And so it can do some really cool things, but then you also come to rely on it and you lose something too, right? So that's kind of like knowing where those boundaries exist, right? And trying to figure out what that is and what that looks like, because you come too reliant on the technology, you start losing vital skills in the process. So that, I think, is a bit of a challenge. I mean, I love the idea that I could take my AI and I can write up this beautiful summary of a report, right? But if I just turn it in and I don't actually read it and actually see if that's verified what's happened, that's great. Or if I don't actually validate that the script that it pulled out actually does what I want to, and I brick a bunch of machines in the process, right? And there's gonna be some lesson learned there, but you still got to use this, right?
Right.
So,
Right. 100%.
So I think to me, that's always my kind of concern. I mean, I think people adapt to some extent, but you don't want to be the guy that's just relying on it as the crutch, or I hate to say it, you're going to get left out in the cold.
Right.
But that's me. It's more of a caution than anything, but I don't think we're at Skynet yet. So
No. Yeah.
yet.
Right.
Nathan, what do you think? Not Nathan, sorry, Cameron. Sorry, Cameron.
No, good. All good. So two things. And one, I think, dovetails nicely into what Nathan just said, which is any dependencies that we put in there means that that thing has to work all the time. And as we know, we learned in technology, nothing works all the time. So you got to be able to build a fallback for what happens when it's not working. It's definitely part of it. But I'll say, pushing to the other side of Nathan's piece of the equation, which is, and I'm going to be blogging on this pretty quickly, if we're not the ones that are embracing it, we are going to become obsolete. We have to figure out, we are technologists. This is a new technology. There's maybe some good reasons to be scared of it. I will agree with that on some levels. But if it not us, then who? And the answer to the who is, that's the people who are going to replace us.
Right. What do you think, guys? What's the reasonable time frame for, let's say, a bit more dramatic changes towards AI adoption in SCOM? So we all know System Center 2025 is coming, and obviously this won't be the case there. or I assume this is at least my personal assumption. What do you think? How quickly can we get really such features into SCOM?
I don't believe it will be in 25 RTM because there's
No.
simply no time. It's
No.
as simple as that. I can. There's a lot of stuff NDA around that, but I think I'm quite safe to say that. And Blake was also virtually nodding there. Even though he also can't say too much, but
Right.
yeah, so it'll take a while. It'll first go to other places, right, and other places in the monitoring space. And once it's in the other places in the monitoring space, then we can actually make use of it in the other monitoring products, I think. So
Right.
I fear that it will go through that direction, right? So it will not come from on-prem towards cloud. This will come from cloud back to hybrid, back to on-prem, and not the other way around, I think.
Do you think that Microsoft will be forced to make a step towards, considering the fact that so many other monitoring tools have already adopted or using AI up to some scale? Because I hear this very, very often from customers. Can SCOM do this, or does SCOM leverage this and this? But the other tool uses it, and they compare which tool does what. So I think sooner or later, Microsoft will be forced really to make
Well, I think if we look, they are always looking at Gartner a lot, right? So it's about, like, is it innovating? Is it vision? Is it those kind of things, right? And yeah, a lot of this AI stuff will gear towards that area, obviously. Which means that for some of the on-prem products, they might stay behind, but some of the cloud products, they will be pushing forward into, like, again, Sentinel being quite out there in that direction, which is actually using data the same way. It's kind of log analytics data, right? It's KQL. So we can now use it when we are pushing data in there. We can use the same methodology and the same advantages that Sentinel is using for the security data. So there's no reason why it can't move that way. And then Microsoft will use that as the excuse, basically, also saying, hey, you know what you guys got to do? You need to go hybrid at the least, because then you can take advantage of whatever cool stuff we have out here.
Right.
And why not in this case?
Guys, time is almost up. So if you have any last words or questions, now will be the best option. Any questions from our audience? I saw Michael just stepped out from the staging area. So if not.
Sorry, I will say, I just wrote Squared Up are doing great. And what they've done is they've come in and implemented a solution which isn't part of SCOM and has helped promote SCOM and increased SCOM sales, right? So maybe someone needs to stand up and do the same thing with AI, right? So there is all these companies around, and most of the vendors of today besides management pack vendors, have tools which are not officially part of SCOM, but make SCOM a lot more powerful. So what I'm trying to say is I don't think we need to sort of rely on Microsoft to come along and save us.
That's actually a nice opinion from Michael. I fully agree actually with it, because we cannot hope that at Microsoft we will solve all the problems. So if there are enough like candidates who can do this, like Squared Up did this for visualization and dashboarding, it will be, of course, great. Guys, thank you very much for your time. It was a great discussion for me, very useful, very interesting. I hope also all the attendees also share the same opinion. And I think I will give the word to Bruce, who will continue and announce the next steps from the event.